Welcome back, chosen ones. Have you ever felt like you've been working in the shadows for so long that the world has completely forgotten your name? Well, I have a message for you today. God has not forgotten you, and in fact, He is about to shock every single person who thought you were finished. Today's episode is a powerful journey through the season of turbulence and the sudden divine elevation that is heading your way. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video you will understand exactly why you had to be hidden and how your breakthrough is going to redefine everything you thought you knew about God's timing. You are going to learn so much about your true purpose today, so let's dive right in. The season of being hidden is never a sign of rejection, but a strategic period of divine preparation where your character is forged in private. While it feels like you have been the overlooked, God is actually shielding you from premature exposure that could destroy your destiny before it fully matures. This intentional isolation serves as a greenhouse for your spirit, allowing you to develop a root system deep enough to sustain the massive growth that is coming. You are being kept in the shadow of His hand, not to be punished, but to be polished until your light is bright enough to handle the weight of the platform He is building for you. When the time is right, the transition from the secret place to the public stage will happen with a speed and precision that leaves no doubt about who orchestrated your rise. The silence you experience during this phase is the ultimate test of your loyalty and your ability to trust the vision even when the evidence is invisible. It is easy to praise when the crowd is cheering, but the true chosen one is defined by their devotion. When the room is empty and the phone stops ringing, this quietness is the frequency of growth, a necessary void where the noise of the world is muted so you can clearly hear the instructions for your next level. Do not mistake the stillness for inactivity, because beneath the surface, the foundations of your future are being reinforced to withstand the pressure of the shock God is about to release. You are learning to walk by faith and not by sight, which is the most vital skill for the breakthrough that awaits you. Feeling forgotten by people is often the clearest indication that you are being remembered by God for something far greater than a temporary trend. When human doors close, it is because God is preparing to open a portal that no man can shut, ensuring that when you finally step out, the credit goes to Him alone. The world may have counted you out, but they did not realize they were simply looking at a seed buried in the ground, waiting for the right atmosphere to erupt into a harvest. This period of being forgotten is actually a divine filter, removing those who were only with you for the convenience of your previous season. God is clearing the path so that when your shock arrives, only those who are meant to be part of your legacy remain. This perceived delay is not a denial but a calibration of your spiritual senses to recognize the magnitude of the shift that is approaching. Many people settle for a mediocre life because they cannot handle the tension of the waiting room. But as a chosen one, your endurance is what qualifies you for the extraordinary. Every moment you spent wondering if you were still on God's radar was a moment where He was fine-tuning the details of a miracle that will silence every critic. The shock will be so profound because it will come from a direction no one expected, proving that God's memory of your faithfulness is much longer than the world's attention span. You are about to see that every tear shed in secret was a seed planted for a public testimony. As you stand on the threshold of this great reveal, it is crucial to remain grounded in the humility you learned while you were hidden. The grace required to handle the upcoming elevation was built during the years you spent in obscurity, learning to find your worth in the Creator rather than the creation. You are not just being promoted, you are being presented as a living proof of God's sovereignty over time and circumstance. The world is about to witness a restoration that makes up for every year you felt lost or stagnant, turning your story into a blueprint of hope for others. Prepare your heart, because the transition from being forgotten to being unavoidable is starting right now. The shock God is preparing is designed to disrupt the natural order of things and prove that He alone holds the final word over your life. While people have used their logic to determine your limit, God is about to use his power to exceed every human calculation. This divine surprise serves as a reminder that the timeline of the Creator is not bound by the expectations of the crowd or the limitations of your past. When the breakthrough hits, it will be so sudden and so significant that even your harshest critics will have to acknowledge that a higher power is at work in your favor. True shock value comes from the contrast between where you were and where God is taking you. For a long time, you have been the underdog, the one ignored and the one dismissed, which makes your upcoming elevation a direct challenge to the status quo. This is not just a small step forward. It is a quantum leap that bypasses the traditional ladders of success. God intentionally waits until the world thinks the story is over before he writes the greatest chapter, ensuring that the impact of your comeback resonates through the lives of everyone who witnessed your struggle. The timing of this shock is mathematically perfect, arriving at the exact moment when human effort has reached its end. You have exhausted your own strength, which has created the perfect vacuum for God's grace to fill. This is why the results will be so staggering. They are not the product of your networking or your hustle, but the result of a divine decree. People will be shocked because they cannot find a logical explanation for your success, and that mystery is exactly what will point them toward the power of the living God. Expect the unexpected, because the way God is going to vindicate you will not look like anything you have planned. He is not interested in following the script that society has written for someone in your position. Instead, he is weaving together a tapestry of miracles that will turn your previous failures into the foundation for your greatest triumph. The shock will be felt in the hearts of those who doubted you, not out of malice, but as a testimony that God's favor is a shield that protects and promotes his chosen ones regardless of the odds. Finally, this season of shock is meant to establish a new standard of what is possible for those who remain faithful in the dark. Your life is becoming a sign and a wonder, a living demonstration that being forgotten by man is often a prerequisite for being featured by God. As the shockwaves of your blessing begin to spread, they will shatter the labels and limitations that have been placed upon you for years. You are stepping into a reality where the impossible becomes your daily experience, leaving the world in awe of the God you serve. Your transition from the shadows to the spotlight is an essential part of your destiny that serves a purpose far beyond your personal comfort. For years, you have been refined in the furnace of obscurity, developing a strength that can only be built when no one is watching. Now, the stage is being set for you to step into the light with a presence that is undeniable and an authority that has been tested by fire. This movement is not about seeking fame, but about fulfilling a mission that requires you to be seen and heard by those you are called to lead. The spotlight is hitting you now because your character has finally caught up with your calling. Many people seek the stage before they have the substance to stay there, but God kept you hidden until you were unbreakable. Your emergence will be marked by a weightiness and a depth that others simply do not possess because you carry the wisdom of the wilderness with you. This transition is seamless and sovereign, orchestrated by the hand of God to ensure that when you are finally visible, you are ready to handle the pressure without losing your soul. Recognition is coming from places you never even petitioned as God begins to whisper your name in the ears of decision-makers. You won't have to knock on doors that were previously locked. The doors themselves will begin to swing open as your light becomes too bright to ignore. The world is looking for authenticity, and because you stayed true to your path while you were in the shadows, you have become the very solution that people are desperately seeking. This is your moment of divine visibility where your hidden labor is rewarded with public honor. As you step into this new level of exposure, you will realize that the spotlight is actually a tool for the kingdom. The attention you receive is a platform for the message you carry, allowing you to influence environments that were once completely off limits to you. Do not fear the eyes that are now upon you. For the same God who protected you in the secret place will sustain you in the public eye. Your story is shifting from a private struggle to a public victory, providing a roadmap for others who are still waiting for their own day of emergence. The transformation will be so complete that you will hardly recognize the person you used to be when you were hiding. The shame of the past is being replaced by the glory of the present, and the forgotten label is being permanently erased. This is the official unveiling of a masterpiece that has been years in the making. Stand tall and embrace the spotlight, because you have earned this moment through every prayer, every tear, and every act of obedience that no one else saw. Your time has come to shine, and the world is ready to witness the light of God through you. The silence of God is never a sign of His indifference, but is often the most profound evidence of His vast work behind the scenes. When you feel unheard, it is usually because God is operating on a level of your destiny that requires your total surrender rather than your constant interference. This quiet period is a spiritual necessity, stripping away your reliance on external validation and forcing you to find your anchor in His unchanging word. You are learning that God's presence is not measured by the noise of the world, but by the steady peace that remains in your heart when the answers haven't arrived yet. Trusting in the dark is the ultimate qualification for reigning in the light, as it proves your loyalty is based on who He is rather than what He does. During these seasons of stillness, God is building a reservoir of faith within you that will be essential for the challenges of your next level. The absence of a visible sign is actually a test of your spiritual maturity, checking to see if you will keep your posture of worship even when the heavens seem like brass. It is in this void that your true identity as a chosen one is solidified, independent of any worldly applause or tangible progress. While you are waiting in the silence, God is busy moving the hearts of people and aligning the stars of opportunity in your favor. You may see a desert, but He is constructing a highway through the wasteland that will lead you directly to your promised land. The silence acts as a divine filter, silencing the distractions and the voices of doubt so that when He finally speaks, His direction is unmistakable. Every day of waiting is a day of strengthening, ensuring that you won't collapse under the weight of the massive blessing that is being assembled on your behalf. The transition from silence to sound will be sudden and thunderous, leaving no doubt that your patience was not in vain. Just as the earth is quietest before the dawn, your life is currently in the final moments of shadow, before the light of your breakthrough shatters the darkness. You are being prepared for a conversation that will change your life, a phone call that will open a door, or a divine encounter that will restore everything the sense seemed to take away. Your job is not to figure out the how or the when, but to remain steadfast in the knowledge that silence is the womb of a miracle. Ultimately, this season is teaching you that God's timing is an act of mercy, protecting you from what you weren't yet ready to carry. If the breakthrough had come when you first asked, it might have crushed you. But because of the silence, you have developed the spiritual muscles to handle the greatness. You are coming out of this period with a testimony that will encourage thousands of others who feel forgotten. You will be able to look back and realize that God was never more active in your life than when He was completely silent. The moment of public vindication is God's way of settling the score and proving that your private faithfulness was seen by the only judge who matters. For every time you were mocked, overlooked, or treated as if you were invisible, God is preparing a display of favor that will serve as a permanent answer to your critics. This is not about seeking revenge, but about the divine necessity of showing the world that those who put their trust in Him will never be put to shame. Your tears were collected in a bottle, and they are now being poured out as a refreshing rain of honor and restoration. When God vindicates you, He does it in a way that leaves no room for human explanation or dispute. He takes the very people who dismissed you and makes them witnesses to your elevation. turning your story of struggle into a masterpiece of grace. This public recognition is the harvest of the seeds you sowed in secret during your most painful nights. The shame you carried is being traded for a double portion of honor, and the labels that people tried to stick on you are being replaced by the titles God has destined for you since the beginning of time. This vindication acts as a divine seal of approval, confirming that you were right to hold on when everyone else told you to let go. It silences the internal and external voices of accusation that claimed you were crazy for believing in a vision that no one else could see. As the truth of your calling becomes visible to all, you will find that the battles you fought in private have given you a strength that others can only dream of. God is using your life as a billboard to show that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him, regardless of the opposition. The shift from the pit to the palace is not just for your benefit, but to restore hope to the weary who are watching your journey. Your vindication is a sign that the underdog can win, that the forgotten can be found, and that the rejected are often the most highly favored. As God lifts your head in the presence of your enemies, you will realize that the pain of the past was simply the price of the platform you now stand upon. The scale of justice is finally tipping in your favor, and the weight of your blessing will far exceed the weight of your previous trials. Enter into this season of vindication with a heart of humility and a spirit of gratitude, knowing that it was the hand of God that brought you here. You don't need to defend yourself anymore because your results are doing the talking for you. The peace you feel now is the result of knowing that your reputation is safe in God's hands, and that He has successfully turned your mourning into dancing. This is the hour where the world finally sees what God has known all along, that you are His, you are chosen, and you are destined for greatness. Unexpected elevation is the divine process of being lifted into positions that you did not campaign for, fueled by a favor that defies human logic. While others relied on networking and politics to climb the social ladder, your advancement comes from a vertical source that bypasses every horizontal barrier. This rapid promotion is God's way of showing that one day of His favor is worth more than 1,000 years of human labor. Those who once looked down on you will now have to look up to see where God has placed you, not to fuel your ego, but to display His sovereign power over the humble. The people who overlooked you were actually part of the divine plan to keep you protected from distractions while you were under construction. If they had recognized your greatness too early, their opinions might have shaped your identity instead of God's word. Their rejection was a hidden blessing that forced you to rely solely on the Creator, developing a resilience that is now your greatest asset. Now that the elevation is manifest, their amazement serves as a testimony that God does not need human permission to bless His children. The very stone that the builders rejected has now become the cornerstone of a new movement. This elevation is characterized by its suddenness and its scale, making it impossible for anyone to claim credit for your success. You are being moved into rooms you didn't even know existed and being given influence over territories you once thought were unreachable. This shift is meant to shock the system of those who operate on merit and who you know, proving that who you are in God is the only currency that matters in the kingdom. As you rise, you carry a weight of authority that was forged in the fire of being underestimated, making you a formidable force in your new environment. The amazement of your onlookers is a secondary effect of God's primary goal, which is to position you for maximum impact. You aren't being lifted just to be seen, but to be a conduit of change in places that have grown stagnant. Your presence in these high places will bring a fresh perspective and a divine wisdom that the world cannot replicate. Those who dismissed you will soon realize that what they ignored was actually the key to their own breakthrough, and they will be forced to seek the wisdom that God has deposited within you. Embrace this new height with the same grace you maintained in the valley, knowing that your stability comes from your roots, not your status. The elevation is a gift, but your character is the anchor that will keep you there. As you witness the shock on the faces of those who thought you were finished, let it be a reminder to them and to yourself that God is the author of the impossible. You are now a living example of what happens when a person stays faithful in the shadows and allows God to handle the timing of their emergence. Breaking the narrative of your past is the essential act of reclaiming your identity from the labels that family, friends, and society have tried to place on you. For too long, you have been defined by your mistakes, your background, or your previous failures, but God is now erasing those old scripts. He is replacing the story of not enough with a new narrative of more than a conqueror. This shift requires you to stop seeing yourself through the lens of human opinion and start seeing yourself through the eternal perspective of the one who called you before you were even born. Redefining your identity is a spiritual surgery that removes the toxic expectations of others from your heart. People often try to keep you in a box because your growth makes them uncomfortable with their own stagnation. But you are no longer obligated to fit into their limited vision. You are being given the freedom to be exactly who God created you to be, without apology or the need for external approval. This internal liberation is the true foundation of the shock that is about to hit the world. They won't recognize the person you have become because you have finally stepped into your true self. The power of your new story lies in its authenticity and its refusal to bow to cultural trends or social pressures. You are not a copy of anyone else, and your path is intentionally unique to ensure that your specific light shines in a way that no one else's can. By breaking away from the crowd, you are demonstrating that your worth is intrinsic and divine, not something that can be granted or taken away by a person's vote. This independence makes you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness because a person who knows who they are in God cannot be manipulated or intimidated. As you rewrite the narrative of your life, you are also clearing the way for future generations to walk in a new level of freedom. You are a cycle breaker, ending the patterns of poverty, insecurity, and silence that have plagued your lineage for years. The new you is not a temporary phase, but a permanent transformation that reflects the glory of the Creator. Every time you speak your truth and walk in your authority, you are reinforcing the fact that your past does not have the power to dictate your future. Finalizing this identity shift means closing the door on the versions of yourself that were created to please people. You are entering a season where your outside finally matches your inside, and the world will have no choice but to adjust to the new reality of your power. Do not look back at the opinions of those who thought you were forgotten. Their words were based on a person who no longer exists. You are a new creation, with a new name and a new mission, and the story God is writing through you is one of ultimate victory and unshakable purpose. Thank you so much for staying with me until the very end of this powerful journey. Today we've uncovered the truth that being hidden was never about being forgotten. It was about being prepared for a shock that will leave the world in awe of God's timing. I want to hear from you. What was the one part of this message that resonated most with your soul today? To show that you are part of the faithful remnant who stayed until the end, and to help us reach more people who feel lost in the shadows, please type the word "unforgotten" in the comments below. Remember, the world may have stopped looking, but God never took his eyes off you. As the scripture says, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Your elevation is next. Stay blessed, stay chosen, and I will see you in the next video. Powered by Gemini Exporter, HTIS Studio Exporter.com.